Hello, people on YouTube Nation. Mike Martin's here, Mike Martin's channel, and I'd like to invite you to another special edition of Trends in the Housing Market. Broadcasting out of Vancouver, downtown Vancouver, BC, Canada, located off the Pacific Ocean. And today's Monday, October 17th, 2016. Oh, I have to remember the date there. Anyways, I've come equipped with my little tripod so I could actually film this properly without moving around too much, and my bullcrap machine. When I call bullcrap on something. So let's get started, and here are our trends in the housing market affecting the world. Okay, I gotta start with Vancouver on this one. This is a cute one, but I got a doozy at the end. I got a duker right at the end for you guys. You guys are gonna like this duker right at the end. I left it for the end, so nobody panic. Sit tight till the end. This is like one of those, I'm like one of those shows that keeps you holding on, or one of those concerts that you go to where the musician has one good song and you wait through the whole thing to hear it. This one's gonna be worth it, guys. So let's start with this first story. Vancouver to host housing experts from around the world. Let's see what these housing experts are going to do from around the world. And it's by the Vancouver City Manager, Sadhu Johnston, Alberta, the Canadian Press. Okay. Sorry, it's by Matt Robinson. I don't know. Oh, the photo. Matt Robinson wrote this, okay? Here goes. It became clear by the halfway point of Vancouver's 10-year housing and homeless strategy that the plan was about to resolve the city's growing affordability crisis. Next week in the city is hosting experts from all over the world, a housing summit intended to help fuel and rethink of plan. While staff say, I can't read, you know that, right? By now, if you're following me. While staff say the midway review wasn't spurred by the crisis, but simply good public policy practice. Change that could come soon enough. So this is change that can't come soon enough. Okay. The strategy was built in 2011, before the cost of availability and housing in all forms became an all-consuming concern for the city staff and residents alike. At the time, Vancouver's housing woes remained, in the minds of most, a problem restricted to street homelessness. 5 years on, the enduring problem is now joining by others that include a near-zero rental vacancy rate and the hot real estate market that collectively squeeze residents of most income brackets and, if you take the city manager, Sadhu Johnston, word for it, threaten to reduce the province's single best economic powerhouse to place of leisure. Now this is what they go on to say here. Are we, in brackets here, are we going to be a resort/retirement community? Johnston said. A recent review, we are going to be a vibrant, dynamic place that young people can afford and want to be in. We have an opportunity to shape that still. The unique point of time for this to catch before it's too late. Now this is a really good article. So you got some professionals coming in that are going to look over at this. Thank God there's people coming in to look at this, because if they got someone like me, I have no idea what's going on. But do these professionals know how it is, like how people are being strained, the middle class is disappearing, the Canadian brain drain? People need to bring these things up at these meetings. Canadian brain drain. It's not just youth. Okay, youth is great, but the actual educated Canadians that live here, that took proper coursing, that are specialized in something, that actually commit to the community. Not people working for the government. I'm talking about like real, like engineers, geologists, doctors, surgeons, people that don't make enough, surgeons don't make enough to own a house. And if they do, they're living off their lines of credit. And if you think you're not, then you're fooling yourself. Johnson said, Vancouver isn't alone in struggle with affordability problems, and the upcoming Readdress Summit An opportunity to learn from experts from other cities that have hit their crisis points long before this one did. It's also an opportunity to look at what has been worked here. So this is a bunch of... What are they going to do? They're going to come in and say, lower the price of housing or raise interest rates. Until they do that... Alright, let's move on to Ireland. I like this one. I printed this one up. This is from Dublin. Housing crisis continues with fall in number of houses for sale. So they're having a crisis where houses, but not enough houses for sale. The housing market continues to face a crisis of supply, according to one of the country's largest auctioneers, which says that the number of houses available for sale has fallen 14% in the last year. Research by Sherry Fitzgerald found approximately 27,800 resident units, 1.5% of the total private stock, were advertised for sale nationwide in July this year, a reduction of 14% compared to the same month of last year. Very good article. The drop in stock is worse in Dublin, where the number of units available is declined by 18 points. 4.6%, 18 points, 4,600 in 12 months to July 2016. Now, this is pretty bad. All in all, the market remains very challenged, with moderate levels of construction and transactions. Low stock and rapidly rising rents, said Miriam Finnegan, chief economist with Sherry Fitzgerald. The research also found that the house prices rose by 4% in the year to date and rose by 1.2% in the third quarter of 2016. Dublin house prices grew by 1% in the third quarter, bringing the year-to-date growth 2.7%. This compares to the growth of 1.4% in the same period the previous year. Cork saw a growth of 5.5% in 9 months to the end of September. Despite the increases, housing prices are still 40.4% below the peaks of levels 2016. The level of price of inflation in the year of date was largely consistent in the same period in 2015, but unfortunately the stability once again masks some very significant indicators of the market crisis, said Ms. Finnegan. So, the report's comparison of the property price register data with the mortgage data by Banking and Payment Federation, Ireland suggests cash buyers account for 47% of all transactions in the first half of 2016. Cash buyers accounts. Owner-occupied represented 71% of all transactions, while investors accounted for 20% purchases during the first 3 quarters of First 3 quarters. There's the magic timeline here. First 3 quarters of 2016, 20% of purchases are investors. Sherry, they don't go on to say if it's foreign. Maybe the Irish are making so much money they're investing in tons of houses. Sherry Fitzgerald analyzed that the profile of vendors who sold their property through estate agents over the 9-month period found 32% of sellers were selling investment properties, while executor sales around for 15% of the market. The research comes a day after 2 reports also showed the increases in house pricing over the last year. So Ireland's having a shortage of houses. There are 20% of them are vacant. I don't want to say it because it doesn't say it here. And remember, guys, if you know me, I don't know nothing. So, but this is what I'm kind of reading through, read through the lines. This is more of a symbolic article. And I'm going to call... Yeah, I'm going to call on that one. Let's keep going here, people. This is a bit of an older article from August 3rd, 2016. It's by The Stranger. don't know if you guys know, the Stranger's like the Georgia Strait in Seattle. And it's a really, really good article, and what Seattle can learn from Vancouver's real estate crisis. Amos Literary, a tech worker in Vancouver, British Columbia, is talking about what everyone in Vancouver can't stop talking about. The city's skyrocketing property values and its seemingly endless construction boom, where one luxury condo after another is being built while being built. So he goes over to say it 3 times. It's a story that now sounds familiar to Seattleites. All property holders in Vancouver literally won the lottery, Litterer says. Sitting on a restaurant called Havana, the decor meant to reproduce the 4-decade-long archaeological decay that defines the Cuban capital. This has created a huge divide between property owners and renters. The article goes on to say that I have known Latier since 1995, and in 2010 he designed an excellent iPad app, The Strange and Wonderful World of Ants, which had a moderate sales and received very good reviews for 4 out of 5 stars, says USA Today. I missed making my million, Lederer says. I just did. I go to parties and I can't see people looking at me saying, he missed making the million? He moved to Vancouver from Montreal nearly a year ago, but is still in a state of shock about the situation. He did not think it would be so bad, but it's worse than he could ever imagine. So now, this is really good. A really good article. City of Empty Towers. Look it up. It's by The Stranger. Look this one up. It's really good, guys. But this is old. This is before, right? So you are in August 3rd, right? So this is when the new taxes got implemented. So things have changed since then. The market is definitely cooling off, and housing sales are stagnant, and that's a good article. So I'm not going to use my machine on that. The London Guardian. Don't blame foreign investors. The roots of housing crisis lie closer to home. Okay. By David Madden. Shakik Khan's investigation into London property market is a distraction. The housing bubble has been created by the action of British politicians. That could be true. That could be true. Let's see what it says. This is from Tuesday, October 4th, 2016. It's from a week ago. In the city where super prime properties and tenant evictions are both on the rise, the housing system is broken, and many residents are looking for someone to blame. For Londoners, rent consumes nearly 2/3 of the typical tenant's income, and it will take 46 years for the average single person to save for a deposit for their home. Let me just say this one more time because your ears don't believe what I'm saying. It will take 46 years for the average single person to save for a deposit on their first home. I can say that in Spanish and Portuguese, but I don't think it'd make a difference if you didn't get it by now. With overseas buyers acquiring as much as 3/4 of all brand new housing in London. I'm going to say this again. With overseas buyers acquiring as much as 3/4 of all new builds housing in London in recent years, it is understandable that foreigners would be cast as the villains behind the housing crisis. Then who is it then? As a result, the London Mayor Shakik Khan last week launched an inquiry into foreign investment in the city's housing market. Okay, can we have an independent body launch an investigation, get all the paperwork, get all the transcripts, get all the sales reports, get everything that's transparent, and put it together? Not the Mayor of London. Londoners are not alone questioning the impact of global investors in local housing markets. The issue is being politicized in cities throughout the world. In Vancouver, Canada, where a single-family home costs around 21 times the region's median income, the city of Vancouver introduced a 15% tax on non-resident foreign buyers. Merry Christmas. In this August, Australian states that encompass Sydney, Melbourne, and other cities have also introduced and raised taxes on house purchases by foreigners. It's important to understand how overseas investments shape residential opportunities and neighborhood life. Yeah, it keeps them abandoned. Keeps you fall down on the middle of a street somewhere. No one's gonna walk by for like a week till they notice you. Khan is right drawing attention to the ways that the housing in London is intrude with global financial flaws. But foreign ownership is only a part of the complex story, one that involves many actors and many institutions located much closer to home. Searching the medium non-negatives to blame is ultimately a distraction. The idea that the housing crisis can be pinned on foreigners is a politically convenient simplification to risk other culprits off the hook while doing little change to the status quo. Let's move on before I lose my temper. San Francisco. Despite lots of construction, Southern California rents hit all-time high. This is going from central to south. Despite thousands of new apartments under constructions across Southern California and Central, rents continue to climb throughout the region. Sylvia Dezia thought Orange County rents would be cheaper. The 33-year-old practitioner and her husband had been living in Los Angeles, Little Tokyo Arts District. There, the rents are nearly $3,000 a month. Surely, Anaheim's Platinum Triangle would be economical by comparison, especially since there are so many apartments under construction there. But that's not driving the rents down. Dazia said that all of the new building, the two-bedroom, and her husband rent for more than $2,000 a month at the Stadium Lofts is much lower than what I was paying in LA, but not low as I expected. Despite having a 10,800 new apartments under construction in Orange County and 25,000 of the new units in works in Los Angeles County, rents continue to climb throughout the region. The average asking rent in Orange County is $1,781 a month, following 61 and a half years of steady hikes, according to Rees Inc. In the past 41 years, 2 months alone, rents are up 14.3%, $233 a month. In Los Angeles County, the average rent is $1,600 a month, rising nearly 18% in the last 41.2 years, Rays reported. In the Inland Empire, rents were up 17% from $1,239. For all the metro areas, rents are at the all-time heights in history. So this is a really, really bad situation that California is in. Anything along the West Coast that's the opening that opens the gate to Asia, like Vancouver all the way down to San Diego, is pretty much hit with this influx of foreign buyers. New York is getting hit somewhat, but Florida's still offhand. Florida's still a good state. Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada. There's a lot of good places still that you still pick up a house for $80,000-$90,000. So people maybe try to relocate and expand those other areas. I know people are leaving California in droves, and they're leaving more than you could ever imagine. So I got a friend that just left there and moved to Texas, and he's enjoying his life a lot more. So let's move on. This is an interesting one for Australia. It was a really interesting article. Chinese banks, bigger risk to Australia than domestic ones. RBA. The Reserve Bank is more relaxed about Australian household finances than in 6 months ago, but more worried about the threat of Chinese debt crisis. Ooh. You know what I'm smelling here? The RBA cited slowing home price growth and better lending standards as key factors, allowing to cut the official interest rate further in August to a fresh record low of 1.5%. At the time, the bank cast doubt on CoreLogic figures showing that the renewed tick up in Sydney and Melbourne home prices, but it now appears to have accepted that these markets have accelerated. Housing prices growth is also larger than it was a year ago, although it has picked up a little in Sydney and Melbourne in recent months, the RBA noted in the half-yearly financial stability review. However, overall, the Reserve Banks believe financial risks in the housing sector have lessened since the last tax review in 6 months. The share of new high loan-to-value, LVR, lending and interest-only loans have fallen. The LVR lending is now at the lowest share in almost a decade, it noted. Although it is not a completely trouble-free picture, but here it goes. Nonetheless, the housing debt-income ratio is still drifting higher. Of course, the price of everything is going to go up. And they never, in the TDS and all the cost of living, they never include food. Sometimes they include car insurance, home insurance, property tax when they're trying to figure out people's loan to value or TDS, total debt service ratio. They never include food, and the price of food is skyrocketing for me and my family. I don't know how much you guys pay for food, but the price of my food is going up beyond you could ever imagine. Furthermore, the RBA acknowledges that although home loan borrowers are the average in 2.5 years instead of scheduled repayments, these aggregate figures must mask significant differences across individual borrowers. Thank you. Key points. Risky home lending at the lowest level is almost at a decade. Bank losses likely to be less than $3 billion in extreme inner-city apartment crash. Chinese banking risk rises, pose a threat to trade and commodity prices. Thank you. That was a decent article. And I got this really special one here. This is from a few days ago. It's Vancouver housing boom sets off human rights alarm by the UN. Ingrid I can't even pronounce it. I'm so sorry, ma'am, for butchering your name. Spokeswoman for Little Mountain stands near a boarded-up house. At Little Mountain, about 700 low-income residents were displaced when the province sold the 6 hectares of development Holborn, the same developer behind the luxury downtown Trump Tower, for the Globe and Mail. So, Vancouver's housing boom sets off human rights alarm in the UN. Vancouver housing crisis is more than a question of real estate prices. There is a bigger issue of housing as human rights. Well, of course. Humans buy the houses. And if the people that live here aren't buying the houses, we got problems. Housing is the core and well-being to life. I like this already. It affects us in so many ways, emotionally and physically. That's why it is a human right. I said this in 2 videos ago, by the way. Says Leanne Farah, special reporter to the Right Housing of the United Nations Human Rights Council. We are talking life and death issues. That is 100%. And it is serious. All tend to compromise one's dignity and one's being. Mrs. Farah, lawyer by trade, was in Vancouver recently as a part of her research on a paper, Will the UN on the Confirmation of the Housing as a part of research. She toured the Lower Mainland and attended the first Larry Bell Urban Forum, an international housing conference in Simon Fraser University. If there's cautionary tale of what happens when houses become commodities instead of homes, it is Vancouver. It's not an isolated phenomenon, nor is it new. It's happening all in the other gateway cities such as London, New York, Sydney. Rich people have always gentrified neighborhoods and displaced low-income groups. But Ms. Farah, who is also an executive director of Ottawa-based Canada Without Poverty, says that the scale of the phenomena has changed and that sudden benefactors of this wealth aren't concerns that they should be, while widening gap between rich and low income. See, rich and low income, there's no more middle class anymore. You see how they word this properly. This is what you call a properly written piece. You don't say middle class anymore, because middle class is, until the country produces and exports and creates jobs, stuff made in Canada, then we could talk production and we could start re-talking middle class. And while the widening gap between rich and low income is lending an increase in displacement and homelessness, we're not responding to the crisis with enough concern and haste. There's something different, she says. It's the amount of wealth and intensification of housing as a community, and an incredible emphasis right now on housing and investment. If we took North America, American context, or even the Vancouver context, where people are in a few years doubling the equity of the value in their homes, I think people are shuffed. You bought it for $500, now it's worth $3 million in a short period of time. I don't see people embarrassed by that or worried about that, which means the poorest people in the country are chuffed. I can't, cuffed. I get cuffed? I guess she's saying a good word. What she's trying to replace this. That's what she's trying to say. They don't know what they're sitting on. This is because the intensification of the drive to own a property and the real estate to invest in, to flip, make money, that has created a culture where people are being harassed, forcibly evicted, or evicted unfairly, so that landlords can't sell properties and make a quick buck. And you know what? That's a really well-written piece. It's a really well... I don't know anything about literature, but that makes sense. That's a good one. Now, here comes the Duker. The Duker. Can we get some music? Here comes the Duker, guys. I got the Duker for you guys. Let me just loosen my shoulders here for this one. Vancouver foreign buyers now shopping for Toronto real estate. Woo! Okay. This is from October 14, 2016. This is from 2 days ago. So I don't know if the rules have changed recently since this was printed. Vancouver foreign buyers scared off by the 50% additional property transfer tax that only applies to them appear to be making their way to Toronto according to a new report. But Diana Petrolamala, the economist with Toronto Dominion Bank, who wrote a note on Friday, says that this impact on Toronto is nowhere near what is happening in Vancouver. She's right. Canada Mortgage and Housing Corp said that the peak up of 20% of buyers were foreign until the tax went in effect August 2nd in Vancouver. The million-dollar question now is whether foreign buyers' investment has shifted east to Toronto and has become the new Vancouver. With the record immigration in 2016 and strong growth in prime first-time home buyer population, the fundamental factors supporting housing activity appear stronger in Toronto than Vancouver. Help drive the existing home sales and prices up, said Petrolama. Having said that the sales to population ratio in Toronto has risen sharply, recent suggestions that foreign investments and speculations are playing a part, albeit likely smaller than in Vancouver. Converting your principal residence into a rental property or vice versa. Here's what Ottawa's new rules mean for you, Ontario. Said to be eyeing subsidized or bolster at the bottom of the housing market rather than tax cool top. Her comments have come as the Canadian Real Estate Association releases results in September, the same day which show the strength of Toronto market continue to impact the national sales figures just as Vancouver. CREA, which represents about 100 boards across the country, said existing Home sales rose 0.8% in September from August, a sensational adjustment basis, but remains 5.6% below the high in April in 2016. So, would this affect the Toronto housing market? I mean, the title of the article says it all right there. So let me know what you guys think. I'm going to try and do this show every week, Trends in the Housing Market. If you guys want to leave me a link, go up to the top of my YouTube channel. You'll see a Facebook that goes to my fan page. Don't panic, it's in Portuguese. I'm actually very well known in the Portuguese world. 9 countries, 308 million speakers. Very well known. So don't panic when you see it in Portuguese. You'll get an auto reply from me. Don't panic. I'll come and see the message later. Anyways, I wanted to put this out there. I want to thank everyone for sending me my show tips and stuff. But most of these tips I found on my own. I'll tell you why, except the one of the UN calling it a housing. Somebody sent me that one and I got that one. Let me explain to you guys what's happened. I've received some pretty big ones on real estate agents lying about their income, or lying about not even licensed real estate agents selling homes and making profits and stuff. That link got taken down. I can't get that link anymore. I see the link, but the link is broken and there's no longer, it's been taken down. There's a couple of them that I got that are really controversial. Foreign numbers disclosed, foreign sales disclosed. That link's been taken down, and it was a real article. So these links are being taken down as fast as they're going up. So guys, when you send me a link, send me the link. I'm going to look at it right away, and I'm going to print it off, because I held back. I saved the links from some of the original people that sent me links, and they were all broken or they were taken down, which is really weird. So anyways, let me know what you guys think about this topic. Yes, our futures are being stolen from us. Yes, the middle class. Yes, there's a Canadian brain drain where all the people that qualify, people, like I have a doctor that's moving to Winnipeg. A good friend of mine, not my doctor, a good friend of mine that lives here in one of the houses. He bought a house for $146,000 on 2 acres of land, and is doing a practice out there. He's a really good family doctor. He's amazing. And I feel for the guy. I mean, he just wants to lay roots and he can't, Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this hot topic happening, and I'll continue doing this show as long as I need to on a weekly basis. Trends in the housing market. Let me know, comment below, give me some feedback. And thanks for watching, guys. If you've watched this until now, I'm really impressed. Thanks for watching. Big hug to everyone, and goodbye.